Hey everyone, I'm Daniel Vanover.
I'm Jesse Roberts. We're technology coaches with Wise County Public Schools.
Today we're going to try to do a Q&A with everyone on Facebook Live, as we are here right now, on Google Classroom. And we want to show you some of the things that your students, or if you're a student watching, some of the things you may be seeing in Google Classroom this semester when your teachers are posting things in Google Classroom. I also want to give everyone kind of like a time to ask questions about Google Classroom or how you log in, those kinds of things during this. So if you want to ask questions, we have two different ways you can do that. You can either ask questions in the comments section on Facebook, and Jesse's actually going to be monitoring the comments, and we'll try to address questions throughout this. We are also going to have a Google form online that you can go to, and it is wisek12.org/techcoachqa. If you go to wisek12.org/techcoachqa, you'll be able to fill out a Google form. You put your name. I think we've got a place on there for email if you want us to contact you back later with an answer. And we will try to address those questions as well. So Jesse's actually going to be monitoring both of those, the comments and the form, during this Q&A. So we want to go ahead and begin, if we can, with Google Classroom. So we're really excited that everyone is here with us. How many we got watching right now?
118.
118. So that's awesome. So you 108 people, and as it keeps going up, we're excited to see you here, and we're glad that you're here. And we're really excited about starting the school year with the options of having online learning. So in order for us to begin, we really need to start out where everything is going to begin in your Google Classroom account, and that is at google.com. So we're actually using the Chrome web browser. If you don't know how to get the Chrome web browser, you can go to www.chrome.com, or you can just do a Google search for Google Chrome web browser, and you can download the Google Chrome web browser for your computer. So that's what we're using. We're using a Google Chrome web browser here, and we have pulled up a website, and that website is google.com, because everything we do with Google Classroom, with Google Docs, we're going to start out in Google. To start out with this, what we're wanting to do is up here in the top right, you're going to see a sign in button. So you may already be signed in to a Google account. You may be signed in to a personal Google account there. We can't use personal Google accounts with our school division Google Classroom, so we need to make sure that we are signing in with our wisek12.org Google account. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in with a wisek12.org Google account here. Password. I'm going to click next, and it's going to sign me into our Google account at wisek12.org. Now, parents, your students have a Google account from pre-K through 12th grade. They have a Google account that ends in at wisek12.org. And this is a protected Google account. This is a Google account that's in what we call a walled garden. So it's not got a lot of outside access when it comes down to the lower grade levels especially. It's a little bit more limited for who they can contact out and who they can email and those types of things. But this Google account gives your students access to a ton of resources, such as Google Classroom, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Calendar, Google Meet, which we're going to discuss a little bit today, and several other great things that you can use while you're doing your remote or your online hybrid learning. You can't use your, like I said, you can't use your @gmail.com address or any other Google account. So make sure that when you're signing in or you're helping your student to sign in, that you sign in with the @wisek12.org account. And you can actually get that from Home Access Center. And we'll talk about that maybe in another live stream on how you can get access to your student's Google account and your student's password through Home Access Center. But you can get into Home Access Center and you can get your student's Google account, and the password there will also be, it's a combination of things that you can, the information you can find inside a Home Access Center as well. And if you really just have any questions about that, you can email your teacher or contact your student's teacher and get their Google account from there as well. So all the teachers do have access to to retrieving that Google account and password for you as a parent or for you as a student if you don't remember your Google login. So we've logged into Google here, and probably one of the easiest ways to get to Google Classroom is up here in the top right. It's 9 little boxes. Some people call it a waffle. Kind of looks like an Eggo waffle there. I click on that, and I'm going to see Classroom. So I'm going to click on Classroom, and it's going to bring me to my Google Classroom. Now, you may get into Google Classroom, and you may not see anything yet because your teacher may not have invited you to their Google Classroom just yet. You may get in there, and you may see 4 or 5 different classes in there because your teachers have already invited you to your Google Classroom. In this instance, we've got 2 classes here. I've got one class that I've already clicked the join button on, and that's Mr. Roberts' History 6 class. And then I've got another class here that I need to join, and it's a Math 6 class. So in order to join that class, I just simply click that join button, and it's going to enroll me in that class that I was invited to. Your teacher may also give you a class code option to join their Google Classroom. To type in the class code, I click on the plus button up here in the top right of Google Classroom, and I click Join Class. And it's going to ask me to type in the class code. Once I type in the class code, I'll be able to join that teacher's Google Classroom. This is another time that it's very important for you to note what Google account you're signed into. Because if you're signed into an @Gmail address right here, that class code is not going to work because this is, like I said, a walled garden. You can't join a Google Classroom in Wise County Schools unless you have a Google account through Wise County Schools. But since our teachers have already sent us a join invitation through Google Classroom, we can just click the join button, and it will bring us to our main Google Classroom for that teacher. And here this teacher's already posted a welcome message. It looks like we've got a few upcoming assignments on the left. Mr. Roberts is going to show you that here in a second. But in order for me to switch back to another class, there's 3 bars up here in the top left. I can click on that to get back to the main menu, and I can choose to click on the classes. I can also choose to switch between my classes from the enrolled section here. So I'm going to click on classes, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Roberts, and he's going to show you his Google Classroom, History 6, and show you how you can access the assignments that he's posted, how you can submit work to him, and some of the other things that you may be able to do in Google Classroom. And then we're going to pick up, and we're going to show you Google Meet from Google Classroom.
Before we get started, we do have one question right now, and it's, will the students have to show their faces in the Zoom meetings? Most of our high schools and elementaries, middle schools are using Google Meet, and even in Zoom or Google Meet, there is an option for you to not be on camera. And when Daniel is talking about Google Meet, I don't know,
I can show him that.
He can show them how you can hide that.
Yeah.
We're going to get changed over here. Daniel's going to man the Q&A. So once you're in Google Classroom and you select the class you're going to, the first page you come to is called the stream. And think of this as like your Facebook news stream. This is where all information is going to be posted. If the teacher has a comment, or like me and Daniel both, we had a welcome notice in our classroom, that information will be there. Our teachers do have the latitude and liberty to change these settings. They could lock it down as tight as they want, or they can leave it open as they want it. Some classes you will be able to add comments to these posts. So this post right here, thank you for participating in our Facebook Live Q&A. The student can come in here and leave a post or a question for the teacher. And you hit the send button, and now information is going to be sent to the teacher. All right, so the teacher can lock this down as tight as they want, or they can open it up. As Daniel was talking about, you do have a little upcoming section here. Any assignment that is due will show up here in the upcoming. There's one other feature in Classroom we can talk about real quick, is there is a built-in calendar that you can go to and see your assignments. So if I click on the calendar, it'll show me every assignment that is upcoming and due. To switch back, you hit the three horizontal bars, and you can toggle back and forth between your classes. So that's the news. That's the stream. Like I said, think about it as your Facebook news stream. This is just where information is posted. The actual classwork will be found in the Classwork tab. This is probably the most important tab for you as students and for your students if you're a parent. Once you get in here, we have asked our teachers to organize their Google Classrooms in fashion sort of like this, to have topics. It's up to the building level administrator of how they're going to do it. Most of them are doing weeks, so it'll be broke down week by week what is due and what assignments are in there. So as you can see here, I got mine broke down by weeks, and these are the assignments that we have posted for this particular class. We've also asked each teacher to have an offline folder. This is for our students who are doing remote learning but may not have a reliable internet service all the time. So this is a link to that folder, and we can talk about that here in a few minutes, but I really want to show you how to get in here and turn in work in Classroom first. So I got a few examples of different types of assignments that your students might see. The first one is an assignment where the teacher is providing a template for them to complete. So this is my Google Doc assignment. If I click on it, I can click on View Assignment here, or I can click on the link that has been provided. And let's view assignment real quick. It just gives you a little brief description of it. This is the work that you're going to end up turning in, how many points it's worth, and if there's been any class comments. All right, so you can get to the work right here by clicking on the link. Basically, it's just taking me to a Google Doc, a template that the teacher has provided. So there may be fill-in-the-blank questions. There may be an essay for them to type. The student would just type their answers in where they're prompted. Once they're finished with their work, after they followed all directions, the most important thing is up here in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see this turn-in button. This is how they actually submit their work to the teacher. So if they come here and do all their work and do not hit that turn-in button, it's not going to show up for the teacher. So that's probably the biggest, most common mistake that students do in Google Classroom, is not hitting the turn-in button. So once I hit turn in, my assignment is turned into teacher. It's going to give me another prompt showing that I'm attaching one Google Doc, and I'm going to click turn in again.
We've got a quick question here, Jesse.
Okay.
Can students go ahead and work ahead, or is that more for each individual teacher?
That's totally up to the teacher and that building level administrator. This is, definitely with COVID-19, this is a different learning environment. That's a question that your students need to ask their instructors. That's something I can't tell. I don't want to say, yeah, you can work and do it whenever you want. I don't want to tell them that and that not be the wishes of that teacher.
But anything that has been posted already in Google Classroom, it's just ready to begin.
Yeah,
as long as it
it's
shows
available.
up.
Yes.
So
if the link is there, you're able to do the work. Yep. I mean, our teachers do have the ability to schedule work. So just because you log in on Monday and you don't see something for Tuesday doesn't mean there's not going to be any work or notes or a video for Tuesday. They can schedule these posts to populate at a certain time. So I can set up my assignments to show up every morning at 8 o'clock. So it's very important for your students to actively participate with their Google Classroom and check it periodically.
The good thing too is that when a teacher posts new content in Google Classroom, it will pop up as a notification in the student's email. And if you have like the Google Classroom app installed on your phone or on your iPad, it will pop up as a notification there. So as soon as the teacher posts something, whether it was scheduled beforehand or it was just straight up posted in Google Classroom, it will pop up as a notification for you on email and on your mobile device. So that's another great thing. And as soon as it's posted, like we said, it's ready to begin. Now, do take note of the due dates that teachers may post, because some teachers may post that something is due in a couple days. Sometimes things may be due in a week. So just take note of when it's due as well, as far as when you should start on your Google Classroom assignments.
Here's one organizational thing that I think we've neglected to show. If you look over here on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see where it says All Topics. Like I said, however your student's instructor is organizing their Google Classroom, whether it's by week, whether it's by SOL, these headings, these topics show up here on the left side of the screen. Now, if I click on one of them, like week 1 here, it's going to take me to all week 1 material. So if I want to just isolate it to see what to do just this week, I can go to that week 1 topic, and it's going to show me all the activities for that week. If I click on all topics, it's going to take me right back to my classwork tab. So that's a way you can organize and look at your material. All right, so the first example we talked about was the teacher providing a template for the students to fill out. The second one I'm going to show you is one where the students create the work and upload it into Classroom. So if we look at this assignment, it's kind of blank. The teacher gave the instructions, upload a document from your drive or computer. All right, so this is something that the students has created themselves, and they're going to have to upload into this Google Classroom assignment. So when I click a View Assignment, you'll notice there is no work for me. There's no template provided by the teacher. But there is a button where it says I can add or create. So if I have done an essay and I need to upload it from my Google Drive, this is where I could do this. I could also create that Google Doc or slide or sheet or any of the other Google apps and create the work right here and turn it in. So let's go in here. Let's just add something from our Google Drive. You could add something from our Google Drive, from a web link, or a file from your computer. So we're just going to go into Google Drive. So up here you have recent documents, uploaded documents, and My Drive. If it's stored in your student's Google Drive, just tell them to click on My Drive and come down and search and find the information. So we're just going to upload this Algebra 1 Unit 3. Students will click on it and hit Insert. You notice your work's been inserted up here at the top. And once again, once it has rendered and it's uploaded, you need to come down here and click the blue Turn In button. Now, here's another feature. Say you have a question about your work or about the assignment, you can always send a private comment if the teacher has that toggled on to the instructor so they can answer your questions. So you can always have that correspondence with your teacher that way. So when you're ready to turn in your work, you've uploaded it, you'll click the blue Turn In button. It's going to prompt you to do it again. Now your work is being submitted to your instructor. All right, so that's an example of the teacher providing a template and one where you have to do it on your own. I'm going to show you probably the next one. It's probably going to be one of the most popular ones is actually doing an assessment. Your students doing a quiz in Google Classroom. Most of our teachers are using Google Forms quizzes to do their assessments when we're doing our distance learning. It's very easy. Most of our students most of them have already done this numerous times. So I'm going to come down here to week 3 and do a colonies quiz. So I click on the assignment. There's the link for the quiz. We could always click View Assignment and come in here. Here's another link for the quiz. So we're going to click the quiz. Type in our name. And from there, it's just a multiple choice quiz. They can send themselves a copy of the responses and hit submit when they're finished. They can view their score automatically if the teacher has that turned on, see how they did. And they can open the assignment back up. You can see that the work has been submitted. So it has automatically been turned in when the student submits. So they don't have to come back in here and mark it done. It's already been submitted for them. You know, this is probably the easiest one of the Google Classroom assignments or assessments. The quiz, you know, once they hit submit, everything's done for them. All right, I got two more to show you. There are two programs that a lot of our teachers are using. The first one I'm going to show you is a CAMI assignment. CAMI is a product that we've been using for the last little bit. It's a great way to annotate and for us to draw on PDFs and to get some interaction with our notes. There is a few extra steps that the kids may have to perform when they're doing the assignment. So this is my CAMI assignment. I'm going to do the same thing we've always been doing. We're going to view the assignment. The link's been provided. The PDF's been provided. So when I open it up, this blue Open with CAMI icon is going to appear. So go ahead and click on that, and this will open this up in CAMI. All right, the first time the student may be prompted to sign in, you just use your student's Wise County Google account to do this. These are kind of the tools for CAMI. So the teacher says, label and identify the New England, Mid-Atlantic, and Southern colonies. So I'm going to come down here with my drawing tool, and I'm going to label the New England colonies. I can also use a text box if I didn't want to do the drawing. I'm going to do my Mid-Atlantic colonies in a different color. I'm going to do my Southern colonies real quick. So just like with our other Google Classroom assignments, this is the most common mistake when our students are doing a CAMI assignment in Google Classroom, is they forget to click on the Turn In button. That's the most important thing for the CAMI, because the teacher could still find this work because it's been saved, but they're not going to be notified that the work has been completed. So they'll click the Turn In, and they'll hit the blue Turn In button again. First time using it, they're going to have to authorize Google Classroom. So you can see it's saving to their Google Drive, and it's turning it into Classroom. Accidentally got out of our Google Classroom, my bad. Got any more questions right now, Daniel, for us?
We had one question. I kind of answered it through chat.
Okay.
But, it was back on Google Forms. They were asking, do students type their answers into a Google Form with CAMI? And I answered it that when it's a PDF document or something that's been submitted out to the students by the teacher, that is PDF, sometimes Google Slides, Docs, they can open it with CAMI. But for a Google form, it's just going to fill in on the side itself. Yep. The form is essentially a website that takes answers, so they can type them directly in.
I think this would be a good time to show them, just kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit and talk about our remote learning website for teachers and students. I'm going to pull that up for them real quick.
We do have a remote learning website for teachers and students, that if you have big questions about Google Classroom or Google Forms or CAMI, we've put together some resources that are available to you, and it's at wisek12.org/RLS. So that is wisek12.org/RLS. and that will take you to our remote learning support site where you can get answers and short tutorials on all of our Google products, as well as some of our additional programs such as Candy and Clever and Loom, as well as some things about like your devices. So let's say you're on a Mac and you want to learn how to use that Mac more effectively, or some of the things that you may have questions about. You're brand new to a Mac. You just went out and bought a brand new Mac and you kind of want to learn how to use it. We put some guides on there for Windows machines, for Android and iOS devices. And we put some resources on that site for you to access regarding internet. So let's say you've got some internet trouble at home and you're just kind of like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. You can run a speed test from this site. You can also kind of get a little guide on, okay, well, what can I do to make my Wi-Fi maybe a little bit better or my cable internet a little bit better? And probably the most effective thing that we've got on here is on the main homepage. We have a place where you can request a support through a tutorial. So let's say you want to learn about something. You can request that we create a guide for you for your remote learning at home. And if you have some problems with connecting up to our remote learning content, or you have some problems with accessing things, you can also request that one of our computer technicians gives you a call or sends you an email through our technical support request. So we do have two different departments here in Wise County Schools in regard to technology. We have an instructional side and we have a technical side. So we tech coaches are on the instructional side. We show you how to do things and we show you how to use these products. We also have technicians who work on these products and who are there to support the hardware and support the troubleshooting issues and the connection issues that our teachers may face and our students may face in the schools. And they've made themselves available through this technology support request to you at home if you have questions or you have issues with using your technology or the technology that you're renting from the school at home. So do check out our remote learning sites, wisek12.org/remote or /RLS, remote learning support. So wisek12.org/RLS. We do have a question here. It's how often will they do Google Meets? And we're going to get into Google Meet here in a minute, but I do want to address this question. And that's really going to be based upon each teacher. A lot of teachers have talked about that they want to use those Wednesdays for Google Meets. Now, that's not everybody, and that's not saying that every teacher is going to use Wednesday for Google Meet calls.
That'd be a good question for your building level administrators, the principals of the buildings. They're the ones who are setting those guidelines for their instructional staff.
Yeah.
Every school is going to be a little bit different.
It is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be tailored to each school and to each grade level. So some grade levels may do different ways of Google Meets, may do more Google Meets than others. So you may have more one-on-one with certain grade levels and more group Google Meets with other grade levels. So definitely in regard to that question, check with your school and ask your teacher. And this is some of the things that you may want to ask your teachers for those beginning orientation meetings that you're having with your teachers. Is how often are you going to do Google Meets? When can we start working on our Google Classroom assignments and those types of things? So those are some really, really great questions, and definitely keep asking the questions in the comments or on our Google form. We have a couple questions on Google Forms. So we have what time will school start? School starts regular time.
Regular time.
Every morning at you need to be there before 8:30, and we're going to start up now. That doesn't mean that you need to definitely every morning log into Google Classroom before 8:30, because if you're on remote learning or you're on the online days of your hybrid learning, you do need to check with your teacher in regard to when they're going to post content. But as far as in the building, physical school starting, 8:30 every morning as always. Another question here is, will there be a way for teachers to take roll? That's going to actually be worked out by the administration. So your principals in your schools are actually working out ways that we're going to be taking roll for students who are on remote learning or who are on an online day for hybrid learning. And there will be a way of taking attendance. I will say that there will be attendance for completing your content and for doing the things and logging in to Google Classroom on a regular basis. So we are encouraging you to log into Google Classroom, to get into your Google Classroom as frequently as you can, and keep a watch on your Google Classroom, just because that is one of the ways that you're going to be counted present, is by your activity and how active you are in Google Classroom.
So let's go back to the classroom. We're almost finished with our examples. So we've talked about a teacher providing the template, the student uploading their own work, and using Kami. Google Classroom, the Classwork tab is a great place for them to post assignments. Now, there may be also notes and videos and other information posted in there as well. That's why it's very important to look at these week by week and to see how your teacher has organized it. We have asked our teachers to provide a weekly agenda in their Google Classroom for each week, so please look for that. It will be under each topic heading. It'll tell you exactly what's due and what assignments are posted for that week. So if you don't see an assignment that's on the syllabus, it's probably the teacher has scheduled it to come out on a certain day. So that's why we stress, regularly checking your Google Classroom. All right, so I'm gonna kind of show you the difference between these icons right here. As you notice, this one has a clipboard and this one has like a bookmark. Anytime you see an assignment or a post with a clipboard, that's an actual assignment. That's something that the teacher is wanting to be turned in. If you see a clipboard, the bookmark, this is a material. This is something that's usually view only, and it's either going to be notes, a web link, or video for the students to use. This is something that they do not want to be turned back in. This is where you'll get your PowerPoints, your Google Slides, any YouTube videos, Loom videos that we send out. This is going to be the instructional part of the classroom. The clipboard is the assessment side. That's where we're taking our grades from. That's where we're doing assignments. The bookmark icon, this is just showing you that it is a learning material and instructional material. And to view those, you can just click on the links provided, or you can click on View Material, and it'll list all the materials that is in this post. All right, that's what I got to show you. If you've got any questions about how to upload work, how to turn in work, please reach out to your student's teacher. We got the remote learning website that you can access. You got the tutorial request. If there's something that we did not cover within Google Classroom today that you have more questions about, please use that tutorial request. Let us know, and we'll do everything in our power to facilitate that and to come up with a tutorial video to send home. Just like I said, the best way to contact us is to reach out first to your student's teacher, then they can reach out to us. So now Daniel's going to come over here and he is going to show you some things about Google Meet. And if you got any more questions, please keep putting them in the chat or into the Google form.
All right, so let's look at Google Meet and how you're going to be getting into Google Meet when a teacher schedules a Google Meet for you, or if they are just simply saying, hey, at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, I want you to get into Google Meet. A lot of times teachers are going to utilize the Google Meet inside of Google Classroom. And I did see a question on there before I switched over here that was if students are sick, are they still going to be required to get onto a Google Meet call? And really that comes down to the individual teacher, and really, I mean, we don't want you to, if you're absolutely feeling terrible and you're throwing up or something like that, we definitely don't want to force you to have to get into a Google Meet call at that time. But I would recommend that you get with the teacher, and if the teacher is doing a Google Meet call during a time when you can't join, to try to reschedule that Google Meet call, because the last thing we want is for you to miss vital instruction, because those are the types of things that are going to happen in these Google Meet calls. Is you're going to have very vital instruction going on. You're going to have things that you as a student or that your students as parents are going to need to see. So if you're unable to join a Google Meet at that time, definitely reschedule that with your teacher. Try to reach out to your teacher and say, hey, can I catch this up at another time? Can we do a one-on-one Google Meet call? Those types of things. Now, as far as the online content, you're going to still, I mean, if you're at home and you're in an online day, you're going to be required and you're going to be expected to do the content that the teacher posts. And our teachers are going to be fairly understanding. I mean, as far as like when you can get on, if you have issues getting on during certain times of the day or because of certain scenarios or certain circumstances. So definitely, if you run into questions, you need to ask the teacher about that and reach out to that teacher. The big thing about all of this and making remote learning work is communication. And that comes from our end and from your end as students and parents, as we really have to communicate with one another in order to make remote learning successful.
I got a question. Will this session be posted on the Wise County website for non-Facebook users?
It will actually, yes. So we will be posting the link to this video on the Wise County website. We'll also have it out. And the great thing about these public Facebook pages, like Wise County Public Schools and some of our other local organizations that have public Facebook pages, you do not have to have a Facebook account in order to view these videos that we go live with. When they're public, they're truly public. So my grandmother, who doesn't have a Facebook account, is able to watch Facebook Live events that I may be a part of when I share the link with her. So we're going to post this out to answer the question directly. Yes, we're going to post this out on different locations so that everyone is able to watch this.
Will there be any homework for all online?
I would probably say in a way you could call it homework, but if you're all online, it truly is kind of like you're doing the work there. So it's not going to be like they're separate instruction and then separate like work that you should do while it's not going on. That's not the way that this works. If you're all online, pretty much everything you're doing is homework. It's just that you're learning in a different environment.
I guess another way to put it, the online only kids are not going to get a separate set of work.
Yeah.
They're still doing the same work that the students in the classroom's doing. It's been presented to them in a different way.
That's exactly right.
You know, there may be a time where there's the kids in the classroom might watch a live video and you might get a Loom video, but you're still going to get the same content. You're still going to have pretty much the same assessments. It's not like we're going to have a different set of work for just online kids and offline kids. The curriculum's still going to be the same across the board.
That's a great question too. I mean, because I mean, as a parent, I would want to know. I mean, is my kid going to have extra work because of the fact that they're online? Their work is going to be tailored to an online environment. Any other questions that we got?
Got one right here. If kids are hungry, could they eat while they're on the Loom meetings?
Yeah, I would say that.
I would say yeah.
I mean, yeah, and again, check with your teacher. I mean, make sure, because
I wouldn't see why it would be a problem, but you never know.
Yeah.
What if kids have nothing to get on Zoom or Google assignments? If any student in Wise County Public Schools who's choosing the hybrid or the online, if they need a device, they will be issued a device. Check with your school's principal to get a device.
Yeah, and that's if you need a device. If your student doesn't have something that they can work with, then definitely check with the school to get that. And I guess the other question, and this kind of leads that into that, would be is, okay, well, what if my kid doesn't have internet? Or what if somebody doesn't have internet? And we do have, like you showed in Google Classroom, we have an offline content plan for students who may not have internet access or don't have regular internet access. They will get the content just in a different form that is tailored for not having internet connection. So We have pretty much several different forms that content's going to be coming out to students depending on the mode of instruction that the student and parent chose.
It's safe to say the work our teachers have put in this summer to get all this together has been monumental.
It has. I'm very, very proud to be a part of Wise County Public Schools.
It's been something special to see the dedication and hard work and them coming together and getting this put together. It's been something special.
Absolutely. All right, so let's look at Google Meet. And Google Meet is really just an online web conferencing location that we have in Google Classroom and in our Google accounts. So typical Google Meet.
This would be a good time to re-show them where that Google Meet link is in Classroom.
Yes. So Google Meet, go to meet.google.com to just get into regular Google Meet, but your students are probably going to be using Google Meet through Google Classroom. So when you get into your Google Classroom, you're going to see Google Meet posted everywhere inside Google Classroom. So up here at the very top of our History 6 test class, you're going to see a Meet link. That's a direct link to that classroom's Google Meet. And the great thing about that is it falls into that walled garden approach again. You've got to be in that classroom in order to join that Google Meet. It's a very protected area. And
the student cannot join that Meet until the instructor starts the session.
That is a huge thing because the teacher has to be in the Google Meet before students can join the Google Meet. So the teacher has to be the first one to click it. So we always kind of have that approach of first in, last out for teachers when it comes down to Google Meet. So if you go to the very top of your Google Classroom, you're going to see the Meet link there. You will also see under the Classwork tab a little shortcut to the Meet in our Google Classroom there. So
teachers do have the ability to toggle that on and off. You may not see it all the time.
Yeah.
Your teacher might say, hey, we're having a Google Meet Friday at 10 o'clock, and you go to Google Classroom on Friday at 10, and there's the link. And after the meeting's over, they can toggle that off.
Yep.
So it may not be there at all times. It may just be there when the teacher is wanting you to access it.
But if it's there, you can click on that Google Meet as long as the teacher's in there, and you'd be able to join that Google Meet. So
I can't speak for Daniel's schools, but I know some of my schools during those Wednesday line-only days, teachers are doing office hours, and this is how they're going to execute those office hours. Is by doing Google Meet, they'll have certain times for certain classes to come on and use these Google Meet.
That's pretty much, I'm hearing that across the county. For a lot of teachers are utilizing those Wednesdays for Google Meet time. Now, here's a big thing that you may see when you first get into Google Meet is you may notice on my screen, it says you need to allow your microphone and your camera on Google Meet. So up here in the very top of my Google Chrome, I'm going to see, do you want to allow use of your microphone and use of your camera? We'll go ahead and click allow on this little pop-up, and it's under this little lock right beside the address bar. So I click allow, and it does turn on my camera. There I am. I'm on the camera. So if I don't want my camera showing up, I'm like, oh no, I forgot, whatever. I can click this turn off camera, and I'm off the camera. So that's a really, really great thing that we can use for, like, if we just want to just kind of watch and we're not wanting the camera on. I can also mute my microphone right there. So I've muted myself when I join, and the only thing I have to do is click Join Now. Once I click Join Now, I'll be able to join that Google Meet. I don't want to do that right now because we are doing kind of a live stream thing, and sometimes multiple things going at one time really don't like each other when it comes down to webcams. So that is how your students will join that Google Meet, and usually, most of the time, it's going to be through Google Classroom. Some schools and some teachers may simply send the link out through Google Classroom, so it may show up in the stream or it may show up in the Classwork tab as a material. Some teachers may email it out or text the link out to you as a parent. So just keep a watch on those things and actually ask your teacher those things whenever you're starting in in this school year and you have that first meeting with your teacher, or you just have that means of communication with your teacher, that's one of the questions you probably need to ask your teachers. Okay, how are you going to do Google Meet? How often are you going to do it? And also, are you going to use Google Classroom Google Meet, or are you going to send us the link to the Google Meets? So those are the things that you may want to ask your teachers when you're starting up in this school year. Are there any other questions on there, Jesse, that we've got?
I don't see any, but I'm just going to add, onto that, communication, like you said earlier, that's probably our biggest ally right now. Is if you need information, contact your school's principal, contact your student's teacher. They may not have the answers, but I'm sure they'll find them for you.
Absolutely.
For our teachers, they're contacting us daily. We're trying to get all the bugs worked out before we start this. But I heard a great analogy from one of our principals. This is like playing golf. When we go play golf, we play 18 holes. We don't shoot 18. Sometimes we hit it in the sand. Sometimes we hit the trees. Sometimes it goes in the water. We're going to do our best as a school division to make this go as smooth as possible. But just keep that open line of communication with your teachers and us, and we'll get things fixed. If something is not working, if you're doing online and something's not working, please contact your teacher so they can let us know, and we'll do our best to fix the problem as quick as possible.
Absolutely, and that's the great thing is you've got some great teachers, you've got some great folks out here who are there for you as parents, students. This county is definitely doing its best. We've got teachers, we got administrators, we got folks doing their best to make sure that you're supported in this endeavor because this is new territory for everybody. So it's pretty awesome that we've got all this work that's been put into this and getting ready.
One more question.
Okay.
I have a student. Let's see here. Fourth grade student, in the video set I seen where we can get into Home Access Center. It said I have registered, but I do not know the email or username. Is there any way I can get that information? You can get that information from your student's teacher.
Yes, they'll actually be sending those out, I believe. So Home Access Center is just now started to turn back on. We do turn it off during the summer for maintenance, for cleaning up things, making sure that students are in the correct classrooms. So it is just now starting to get turned back on. By the beginning of school, that will be turned on. And so by the time that your student gets back into the classroom, whether it's in a remote setting or the hybrid learning setting, once they start on August the 20th, we should have Home Access Center back up and going completely, and you will get that information. And really just contacting the school and asking, okay, can I get that information? There's another way after we get started with all this that you can get your information for logging into Home Access Center. But this has been a really great event. I'm excited that we were able to do this for everyone, and we're actually going to do this on a regular basis. I think Jesse and I kind of talked about this, and I believe we're going to do a live Q&A every other Friday is kind of what we're thinking. So be watching the Wise County Public Schools Facebook page and be watching out there from your teachers as they post things out, because we are going to try to make ourselves as available as we can through all means of communication. So if you are friends with us on Facebook and you want to send us a message, I don't mind it at all. If you mind if they message you, go right ahead. So message us. If you have any questions, you can also comment here. You can use the form to comment and ask questions. But are there any other questions before we sign out, Jesse, that you
There's one. Can parents have multiple accounts saved for easy access?
Multiple accounts saved. Is that Google accounts?
Yeah, is that Google accounts? Is that Home Access Center? I don't know if they're still watching or not.
Yeah, if you ask that question, definitely follow up with us on that. In regard to Google accounts and having multiple Google accounts, so let's say I've got 3 kids at home and I want all of them to be logged in. We're actually going to show you how to do that in the coming weeks, setting up multiple Chrome profiles. So you could actually set up what's called a Chrome profile, and that's just your Google Chrome is tied to a particular Google account, And then you set up another Google Chrome profile that's tied to another Google account. So the student just clicks on that on their desktop and gets right in. So if that's what you're asking about, yes. As far as with Home Access Center, if you're asking about Home Access Center and whether or not you can have multiple students under one account, you actually can. Those students can be tied together, but you need to contact the school in order to get that to happen. But you can have all of your students show as a drop down on Home Access Center in the top right. So the answer to both of those, I guess, is yes. You can have multiple accounts, and it just really depends on what you which one of those you're wanting. But if it's about Google accounts, we're actually going to show you how to do that in a couple weeks. So stay tuned for that, and do check back in the Wise County Public Schools Facebook page. Anything else we got?
I think we've covered it.
All right. Well, if there are any other questions, you feel free to use that Tech Coach Q&A form or send us a message on here. And again, my name is Daniel Vanover.
I'm Jesse Roberts.
We're Tech Coaches for Wise County Public Schools. We're so glad you were able to join us. We'll see you next time.